Is Conqueror a contender for Browser of the Year? Find out today on Call for Help.
Good to see you. Welcome. It's time for Call for Help. I'm Leo Laporte. This is the show where we help you understand technology, help you figure out how to use it, how to choose it if you're in the market, how to abuse it if you like to hack on it, and how to lose it if it ain't working for you. And this is a great place to learn about not just computers and the internet, but cell phones and PDAs and camcorders, even home theater. We'll cover TVs too. I do it without the person without whom I could not do this show. There's a grammatical conundrum.
It made sense to me. Hey, Leo.
This is the person without whom there would be no call for help. You're going to do a web workshop. I love the web workshop.
Yes, today I'm doing a web workshop. I'm going to do how to find a good domain name and how to register a domain name.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, so it should be good. We're going to help one viewer in Newfoundland who has a site that's all about the adventures of Tom Cruise and Spork.
Okay, I'm thinking that would be a pretty good URL, the adventures of Tom Cruise and Spork.com.
Exactly. We got to help him a little bit.
Maybe, sure. Spork.net. I like that. Mr. Excel's here.
Yes.
Mr. Excel, of course, our favorite Excel guru, teaches you everything you ever wanted to know about perhaps the most powerful computer on your program on your computer, Microsoft's Excel spreadsheet. He's going to show you how you can use pivot tables to transfer data from Access databases into Excel. And our Linux guru, Marcel Gagne, is going to do what you were talking about, show us Conqueror with a K. It is the browser that comes with a KDE desktop. And actually, it's the browser that Mac based its Safari and its WebKit on. Believe it or not.
Cool.
Yes, it's a very good browser. But you know, this show is called Call for Help.
It is.
You know what that means. We better take a call.
All right, we have Perry on the line from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Hello, Perry! How are you today? Say hello to Basil Cohen on camera number one. Oh, he does. Now I get why you're doing that, Basil. You're saying hello by going, yeah, I get it. He's the dancing cameras. Perry, how are you today? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That doesn't bode well when the first call of the day doesn't work. Let's see here. We're gonna work on getting Perry. I know what his question was because he emailed it ahead of time. He wanted to know, this is the one I wanted to know about remote desktop. He wants to help his mom or his grandmother with her computer.
It's actually an old teacher.
An old teacher. Oh, that's kind of nice. Well, while we try to get Perry up, let me talk a little bit about remote desktop. There are a lot of different ways to access Windows across the internet from another copy of Windows. You've got one already built in, but there's a kind of a catch. Remote desktop only works if the host computer, in this case would be Perry's teacher, the person he wants to log into to work on her computer, if the host computer is running Windows XP Professional. And unfortunately, it's usually the other way around. The expert's running Pro, and the person the expert wants to help is running Home. So if your teacher, Perry, is running Windows XP Pro, then it's a simple thing. You can actually download the remote desktop client, the other end. It's actually on the, I believe it's on the XP disk. It comes with Pro, certainly, yeah. And also you can download it from Microsoft. And in fact, they have versions not just for Windows XP, but they have it for 95, 98, ME, even Macintosh. So if you're trying to log into somebody's computer, and that person is running XP Professional, problem solved. It's free, it's there, and it works great. There are, well, I shouldn't say problem solved, because there are some issues also. If that person has a firewall or a router, which many people do, or if you have a router, that can cause issues. But if you're trying to connect to somebody and they've got a router, that router is going to say, who's this? I don't know this person, and won't let you in. And of course, now you're trying to help somebody who doesn't know a lot about computers. It's going to be difficult for you to say to them, oh, and by the way, you've got to port forward your router. And right there, you know, it's dead. So another choice would be to use a service that doesn't go directly from your computer to their computer, but connects you up through a server, a central server, because that eliminates that whole router problem. Now, there's a commercial one called Go to My PC, which I think is very good, and I should just give you a disclaimer. They're an advertiser on my radio show. I will show you another one that's absolutely free. It's called logmein.com. It's the same idea. So your teacher will, and this one's free. Your teacher, there's a free trial, will go to logmein.com and set it up. She has to install some software on her computer, and then on your end, you will just log in. You'll create an account, but you'll log in, and it will automatically connect you up to her computer. Okay, so she'll be the one establishing the account, installing the software on her system. She'll give you the login, and then you log into her system through LogMeIn. I think for casual fixing up stuff, this is probably the easiest, because the person who needs the help needs to know the least. It's very straightforward, and it's absolutely free. Now, you said that you were doing this, as I remember from the email, on America Online. That's not a problem, but the problem could be dial-up. Now, these will work on dial-up, but they'll be painfully slow. So if you're both broadband, this works better. If you both have high-speed internet, this works better. If one of you is dial-up, you're not going to be any faster than that person. And it's just going to, it'll still work. These programs all still work over dial-up. They just take a really long time. AOL gives you a true net connection, In fact, when you're on America Online, if you minimize it, you can open any browser. You can use any, chat client or any other internet program, because AOL has established a connection to the internet. So the AOL's fine. In this case, it's just like a regular internet service provider. If you have Windows XP Professional on the end that you want to log into, on your teacher's end, that's fine. You've got it free. And then if not, I would recommend LogMeIn. And if you want to do this a lot, as I said, I have to give you the disclaimer, because they are an advertiser, but I'm not doing this because of the advertising. I'm doing it because I think they're really good service. Go to mypc.com. It's a pay service. They do have a free trial. You can, like a 1-hour trial. Actually, no, I shouldn't do that. I was going to say, I have a 30-day trial on my radio show. If you just click the radio button and you use my name, Leo, you'll get the 30-day unlimited trial. And so that's probably just as good. This is based on Citrix, which is a very powerful and one of the best remote access programs from the very earliest days of Windows NT, and I think really works well. Okay, we weren't able to get him back on the phone. I guess something happened to his phone line. But I think that'll answer the question. We have all the information you need in your show notes at callforhelptv.com. Now, coming up, Mr. Excel offers 65,000 rows of data on a single spreadsheet. Well, Mr. Excel doesn't, but the spreadsheet does. What happens when you have more data than 65,000 rows? Who's got that much data? Well, if you do, Mr. Excel has a solution. The Call for Help continues. Stay right here. Sometimes you just need more space. If you use spreadsheets a lot, you may also be using Microsoft Access, their database program, for some of your work. But, according to Mr. Excel, and if you've ever tried this, you might have experienced this, sometimes your Access databases are actually bigger than Excel can handle, more than 65,000 rows of data. How can you use Excel to analyze giant Access databases? Well, the trick is pivot tables and summaries. And Bill Jelen, Mr. Excel, is here with a how-to. This is his newest book, Pivot Table and Data Crunching.
Right.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we're going to talk about, is crunching your data.
That's right. Yeah, especially, Excel, 65,536 rows, which you say is plenty.
Seems like a lot.
But it's amazing how quickly that can fill up.
Yeah. Well, databases tend to get giant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the book, we talk about how to take an Access database. I have a sample data source here today that has 83,000 rows. So certainly there's no way you could open this in Excel.
And that would be reasonable if you're, for instance, keeping track of all your customers or all your orders.
Yeah.
It's not going to take long to get big.
That's right. But what we found is that using Excel, we can use a pivot table, which I think is Excel's most powerful feature anyway, and link to that Access database and pull summary data right into Excel.
So the key is not putting the data into Excel, but linking to the Access database.
And it's funny that when you create a pivot table, Excel actually pulls all that data into memory. So it's able to deal with more than 82,000 rows in memory.
You just can't display it, I guess. Yeah.
So we're going to create a pivot table just like we usually do. Data, pivot table, and pivot chart report. Now, I always say just fly right through the first two steps of the wizard.
Say yes, yes.
Yeah, but now we can't do that.
Not now, okay.
We have to choose that it's an external data source.
Okay, instead of Excel.
Right,
okay.
yeah, and click Next. And then this Get Data button.
Now, does this only work with Access, or are there other databases?
It will work with anything. If you have SQL Server or any ODBC database, you can use that.
I see it also works with DBase.
DBase files, right? And
for the oldies amongst us.
if you have OLAP cubes, you know, that obviously a lot of power.
And a lot of statistical programs like SAS generate OLAP cubes. So.
Exactly, Essbase, Oracle.
Yeah.
So we're going to choose Access Database and click OK. And it's funny, we're not in Excel anymore. We're now in the old.
I have a feeling we're not in Excel anymore, said Dorothy.
We're in Microsoft Query. I mean, this is like an 8-year-old open.
Look how old that is.
Ancient.
Windows hasn't had an open box that small in years. There we go. Now we're back to
So we have our sample data source, and I choose all the fields. Click Next. Next. I mean, all sorts of things that I can do.
The defaults tend to be pretty good, though, for something like this.
Right.
Okay.
And we're going to return the data to Microsoft Excel. Next. It's click Next 8,000 times. And then we could go to Layout and create.
This is where you'll drag the data to the table.
So if we want to create,
you can do this inside the pivot table as well, but it's easier to use the wizard, I guess. Yeah.
So we want to show maybe revenue and.
This is the part where I always get confused in pivot tables about where to put what. It's always a little tricky.
It is tricky, and there's official names for all these places, but I use names that make sense to me.
Right.
The going down the side area.
Name. I like that. Yeah.
And the going across the top.
Down the side and across the top.
Yeah, so here I want markets going down the side of the report, so I'll have all the markets listed down the side.
Okay.
Line of business is going across the top. They call that the column area.
Yep.
Again, and that.
Well, row and column, people use spreadsheets. I guess they kind of get that.
I guess so, but you know, it's funny, the things that you put across the top go across one row. So why don't they call that the row area instead of the column area?
Oh, now you're really confusing me. Because they're column titles, kind of.
Yeah, that must be it.
Yeah,
I'm going to petition to have them called going down the side and going across.
It's much clearer.
Yeah, that's right.
And then in the middle, we're going to tell it what summary information.
Right, so revenue or units sold or something like that. And one thing you always have to be careful about, especially since the data is coming from Access, you want to double-click this field and make sure that we're getting a sum. If there's one field in there, one cell, that's not a cell, one field that has a null or something like that, Excel is going to count it instead of sum it.
Okay.
And counting revenue is horrible.
So check to make sure it's count. It's not count, but sum. Yeah, because otherwise you'll get a very small number.
That's right.
And you'll go, what happened to our money?
And I've seen this where you run it into your manager and say, hey, the report's done.
We made $83,000.
And he looks at you like, you're a moron. That's happened to me before.
Has it really?
So I always check now.
I'll be right back, boss.
Click Finish, and it goes out to the database, and there we go. Just that fast. It took those 83,000 rows.
Look at that. And this is a summary. And this is exactly the kind of thing you'll do all the time, really.
Exactly.
You want to take these giant databases and look at them.
And no one needs to see 83,000 rows. You're not going to give your manager a report of 83,000, but you give them a nice summary report like this with regions or markets down the side.
Let me ask you a question. We have contributions coming through PayPal, and they're rapidly going to approach that 65,000, greater than 65,000 number in the lines. Now, I've been importing the PayPal data into Excel. Clearly, that's not going to work anymore.
Is it a text file when you import?
Yeah.
Okay, now there's a trick.
Yeah.
In the data import, in the data or text import, there's a setting in there that you can say start at a particular row.
Okay.
All right, so what I do is I import the first 65,000 rows and then go back and kick that setting up to say, now I want to start at, you would think.
And it could take another bunch of them?
Yes. And so
65,000 plus one?
Well, in theory, but someone at Microsoft made that number be an integer. So it has to start at 32,766 or something like that.
Okay.
So you can get about 96,000 rows in.
Oh, you can?
Using that method.
Oh, good.
It's not.
And then if we really need more than that, I'm going to have to go to a more powerful solution. Then I'll go to Access.
No, then you write a macro.
Oh, okay.
Because the macro can read every line.
We'll be back in a bit with more Mr. Excel help for Leo. That's great. So if you're using Access, what a great way to get summaries. You can get graphs out of that. All the information is there.
Pivot charts.
And it's live, right? I mean, if the Access database changes.
That's the other beautiful thing. That's right. We close this file today, open the file tomorrow. It goes out to the Access database, which someone in MIS might have updated, and we now have live data.
Isn't that slick? Yeah. So this becomes a high-level executive report that's just automatic.
Distribute this. You could distribute this workbook to 20 different people, and everyone will have the right data.
That's very important nowadays.
Good point.
The days of Sarbanes-Oxley and so forth.
Exactly.
If you'd like to get more great tips like the one you saw in today's show, Bill's website is so good. He answers thousands of questions every year, tens of thousands. MrExcel.com. And for more instructions on how to transfer Access data into Excel, our show notes, callforhelptv.com. Have all the information. Don't forget the book is called Pivot Table Data Crunching Business solutions, brand new from Q. We'll be right back. But first, transfer your attention to our tech trivia question of the day. Here's a good one. Google's servers run which type of operating system? Linux, Microsoft Server, Java, or Windows CE? If you were Google, what would you run on? Go to the website, give us the answer. We'll talk about it when Call for Help continues.
The access would be available by code or password.
Welcome back to Call for Help. Time for our Mac tip of the day. Here's how you can control browsing for your kids in Tiger. All you have to do is go to System Preferences, go to your kid's account, click the little box beside Safari, click on Configure, and then you can choose which websites you would like to allow your kid to access, and then click OK. And now we have another caller. We have Ray on the webcam from Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois.
My wife did that. My wife and I did that last week, and we went into the living room, and Jennifer said, "Okay, wait for the screams." And we sat, and it took a few minutes, but like about 10 minutes, we hear, "Daddy!"
So you just let them access just a couple of sites?
Yeah. Daddy! Ray, hello, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hello, Leo. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks for
I've
calling.
been watching your show for quite some time.
And we're
enjoyed every one of them.
And we're glad. Oh, goodness, you snuck up behind me. And we're glad to be back on in the States on G4. Isn't that great news?
Yeah, it is. It is. I was very glad to hear that.
Oh, we're so happy. And I just feel like, Canada, then Australia, and now the U.S., we're going to just take the whole world over here.
I hope you do.
So what can I do for you, Ray?
I'd like to know what the best free antivirus is out there right now.
Ah, that's a good question. Now, since you've been watching for a long time, that for a long time I've recommended AVG. And I still think AVG is very good. It's a little harder to find the free version. It's free.grisoft, GRISOFT.com, free.grisoft.com, and then on the left you'll see Get AVG Free. The way this works is you download it and they'll send you a key and so forth. And the whole idea of these free antiviruses is to encourage you to purchase the full version. I don't particularly think AVG is worth buying. It's a little expensive. It's about $40. Well, that's for 2 years, though. I guess that's not too awful. It's just not my favorite antivirus. I think it's good for a free antivirus. Let me show you another one that I think is a newcomer, but I think is also very good, free-av.com. This is a German company. The program is called Antivirus. Now, what I would do is they're both free. You could try one, try the other, see which one fits your needs better. One thing I like about AVG is it is ICSA certified. That's the International Computer Security Association or something like that. And their virus bulletin record is very good. That's one place that you can go to check an antivirus. It's virusbtn.com. And it's an independent third party that rates antiviruses. And what they do is they actually have a zoo of viruses, in the wild viruses, and they test these antiviruses monthly against these in-the-wild viruses. And then they actually give you a percentage that they found. And you obviously only want to buy an antivirus that not only has 100% this month, but has 100% pretty much consistently across the last few years. So if you see a VB 100% logo, as you'll see on the AVG site, that's a really good sign that they're going to be effective. There are other things to think about in an antivirus, though, not just whether it's 100% effective. You want it to be lightweight. One of the reasons I'm not crazy about Norton Antivirus and McAfee, the two big bestsellers, is they are bloated. They've put a lot of extra stuff in there. They slow you down. It's not just how much it costs. I mean, really, let's face it, $40 a year is worth it for security. But they're bloated. They just bog your machine down. The other thing I'm not crazy about, or rather to look for in an antivirus, is something called heuristics, and that's the ability to catch virus-like activity ahead of time. And that's really important nowadays because virus-like activity is also what spyware does. So programs with good heuristics will catch spyware as well as viruses. They'll say, "Oh, you're modifying the system. You sure you want this program to modify the system?" So that's something to look for. AVG does have heuristics, not the best in the world, but again, you're not paying anything for it. Antivirus, I haven't tried for its heuristics. I would check to see if it does. But there's two, I think, good free ones. But as I said, you know, $40 a year, it might not be a bad idea to buy a good antivirus and to look for one that's lightweight, 100% effective, and good heuristics. The one I use myself is from a small company not a lot of people have heard of, called ESET. It's called NOD32, and I do really like this antivirus because it fits those parameters. 100% effective, it's very lightweight. It updates automatically in the background. I was talking to Mike about his mom, because he has his mom using Norton because it's easier for her to use. And I said, you know, I would try NOD32 with her because that, you don't even know the antivirus is running. It's so lightweight, you don't see it in the background. It's not popping up a lot of information. It's just effective, and it updates automatically. So you don't even have to actually update, you know. That's not an expensive antivirus. I think it's $40, although a lot of times users groups will offer it for $20. If you ask your user group to do a deal, they can get a deal with them. So there's 2 free ones and 1 commercial one that I recommend, okay?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I really appreciate the call. Keep watching there in Oak Brook Terrace.
Definitely.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you're writing a cartoon online about the adventures of Tom Cruise and a life-size spork, and I know many of you are, what are you going to call your site? We'll show you how to find a perfect domain name and how to register it on today's web workshop right after this. Amber's coming up. Stay here. It's time for the web workshop. A good website name is hard to come by these days. Most of the 3- and 4-letter domains are long gone. I mean, I tried to get Leo.com. You know what's Leo.com?
The Royal Bank.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And do they use it?
No, I don't want to rub it in.
Help.com, long gone. News.com, all of the short ones are gone. In fact, there's a domain name that's gone as well called allofthegooddomainNamesWereTaken.com.
Oh, boy.
But if you are in the market for a fabulous URL, there is still hope. Amber is going to give us a lesson on getting, choosing, and registering a great domain name.
Yes, and I was actually inspired to do this from a web workshop viewer. His name's Justin Gray, and he's from Grand Falls, Newfoundland.
And there he is with his spork.
Yes, he's there with his spork. For anyone who doesn't know, a spork is like a spoon and a fork combined in one.
I didn't know right away, but now that you've mentioned
it's a great
it,
invention,
yes.
actually. So we're going to.
It's a great picture.
It's a great picture. I asked him to send me a photo, and he sent me this. He's very funny.
And the spork.
So we're going to help him out a little bit. Right now, his website's called stris.homelinux.org. Not a great URL, obviously. And what he does is he has these really amazing cartoons that he's created about the adventures of Tom Cruise and a spork. Okay, I know it sounds weird.
Hey, whatever. You know?
I know. But actually,
probably TomCruise.com is taken.
Yes, probably TomCruise.com. So let's just look at his website quickly so you get a sense.
It's pretty funny.
You know what? I'm not into a lot of goofy websites, but this is hilarious. So the Adventures of Tom Cruise and Spork. So there's 4 different episodes. Actually, there's 3 episodes, and the 4th is coming soon. Episode 1, 2, 3. I knew you would like this. So we'll just take a look at it. He's done a great job of actually designing this because it's really, really easy to use. Obviously, you just do next every time. So this is Tom Cruise saying that he's home from making a million hit movies, and now he's about to go on vacation. Go clean up your prongs and let us dance into the sunset like wild lepers. So he's talking to his friend the spork. So the spork is really excited to go with him. And anyway, there's 3 different scenes in the entire on the entire website. He has a power book as well. So the spork is getting excited to go on the adventure, and he gets an email, and he has a little Gmail screenshot and everything. So he does.
That's great.
It's absolutely hilarious. And the idea is that eventually someone has captured Oprah, and they need to go save Oprah. Anyway, I don't want to get too into it because it's very distracting.
No, let's not spoil it. But homelinux.org, stris.homelinux.org, that ain't going to work.
Yeah, he did a great job. Like I said, there's the cartoons are hilarious. So what we're going to do is we're going to help him actually come up with a good domain name so that he can promote an awesome job on these hilarious cartoons that he's done.
Yes.
So I found this really good article by this guy, Marcus Vorwaller, called How to Find a Great Domain Name. And we'll make sure we put a link to this on
I bet he was able to get Vorwaller.com.
Yes, he probably was. So when I went here, I found out there was all these different sites that you can go to that you can go and you can find out what domains have been dropped, how to actually create your own domain name, and all these other things. The one that I thought was the best is actually called domainsbot.com. domainsbot.com. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Never heard that.
So what this is if you go to domainsbot.com and you enter a phrase or some keywords about your website and what it does.
Bot as in robot,
exactly.
not B-O-U-G.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do for Justin, obviously his website is about Tom and Spork. So we'll write Tom and Spork.
That would be good.
And
I wonder if spork.org is gone.
Actually,
You could be the nonprofit Spork promotion, the National Association of Sports.
That's a good point. We could check that out as well.
Yeah.
So we'll say Tom and Spork, and we'll see if that's gone.
So it tells you not just the .coms, but all the other possibles.
All you're entering are keywords and phrases. So you can go here and you can see that it looks as though someone owns Tom and Spork.
Wait a minute.
I know, it might be Justin. It's possible, but
Maybe.
he never mentioned it to me. He could have just bought it when I actually contacted him. He thought maybe a lot of people would visit his site. So we can go and we can see that, Tommy and Spork's available, Thomas and Spork, tomandspork.net. But as you can see, there's literally, dozens and dozens of names that they come up with and generate to help you out, which I think is an awesome, awesome thing to have.
And it's smart because it knows that Tom is Thomas and Tommy.
Oh, it's really smart.
It's
a really smart generator. Like I went in and I entered Leo Laporte just to see what other URLs they had, and they'll go on. They'll say Lion Laporte. They'll do all these different things. So it's the engine is smart enough to actually find synonyms with certain words and actually generate other possible URLs. So that's a really, really good service. You can go in and you can play around with it forever. You can save some of your ideas for the names. So say if we just wanted to call it The Adventures of. Actually, we'll go back here. The Adventures of Spork. Because he may want to do more cartoons.
Kind of eliminate Tom.
Yeah, maybe Tom
and go
Cruise
to another person down the road.
The Adventures of Leo Laporte and Spork.
I think The Rock would be good. Spork and The Rock.
That would be good. So you can see now adventuresofspork.com is available. So this is a pretty funny name. And I may tell him about this before this airs.
Let me ask you, do you think long names like that are... when you're choosing a domain name, what should you keep in mind?
Okay, so here's another thing. When you're actually choosing a name, usually the rule is that the shorter the name, the better. So if you could get leo.com, that would be amazing.
I have leo.am.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the Armenian registry. But AM radio, get it? So I thought leo.am.
That's pretty good.
That's just shorter than leo.com.
And one thing to remember, if you do buy something like leo.am, to always promote that with your brand. So that you say, instead of saying, this is Leo's website, say leo.am, leo.am. A lot of people...
go put something on that site.
I know. When you just actually... all you have is a website for your business and there's no sort of storefront, it's not a bricks and mortar type business, then it's important to actually, attach the full domain name to your name. So like Spork, adventuresofspork.com would always just be adventuresofspork.com.
Right.
But it's a little bit long, but sometimes those names can work if you have a really catchy name, but generally speaking, the shorter the better.
I also know spelling can be an issue. In Canada, you spell harbor with an O-U-R.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do business in the States and, you were royalharbor.com with a U, you might have trouble.
You might have trouble, yeah. So be careful of spelling. That is
hard to spell words are not a good choice.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but you should probably use American spelling for a lot of those words. If you have to use a word that is like British spelling,
well, avoid it. I would say in general,
or avoid it in general.
Yeah.
Also, don't use hyphens. Those are never good. People use them all the time, and it's just never a good idea. People, I don't know why they do that. People mess them up all the time.
Yeah.
So also, we're going to look at another site that you can go to that has deleted domains. So what this is domains that people have just dropped. So the site is called justdrop.com. This is kind of cool as well, because what I did just to test it out was I went in and I said, hey, I want a really short domain name because I don't want something really long, and I don't care what it is, but maybe it's a new company or a new brand. So I'll say that the minimum length can be 4 characters, maximum 4 characters. And then I can see all of the domains that are available that are only 4 characters long.
How do you feel about .us or .biz or these non-standard? I mean, .com is kind of prime real estate.
I think that .com is the standard. People should stick to using .com if you can. I also own ambermac.tv just because I'm doing some video stuff and TV stuff. So that's
I have
good.
.tv,
yeah, but you may not. You may want to buy those domains and just have them actually forward to your .com site. So that's a smart thing to do.
Right.
But generally speaking, if you can get .com, get .com.
Right.
I've never been a big supporter of even .ca. I probably shouldn't say that, but I just feel as though if you really want to launch a business on the web, the idea is that your audience is international, and unfortunately, .com is the standard, not necessarily the.
I have that trouble with leo.am. People always say, you mean leo.am.com?
Yeah.
And I always have to say, no .com, just leo. Because nobody's ever heard of .am.
Exactly. So,
it's a stupid Royal Bank of Canada.
I know. Maybe they'll drop it one day.
I want to start a campaign. We were thinking of that in the States, but to start a campaign to get leo.com back. because they're not using it, but that's the lion, you know. That's
I know. That would be a great domain.
But I don't think you can fight the Royal Bank of Canada. I don't think that's going to work.
Probably not a good idea.
No.
And then we'll do another segment about actually where to go to register your domain name and where to go to host your site. But I'll just mention a few for people who are right now want to actually go out and do it. You can go to register.com to actually register your domain name. GoDaddy.com.
I like GoDaddy. That's amazing.
GoDaddy's great. They have really good deals. You can also go to Yahoo. Has
right now.
Yeah, really good deals.
Yeah.
I think $3.99 to register a .com domain name, and they do hosting as well.
Yeah.
So those are a few of the bigger ones, and there's tons of others.
2 Cows is very reasonable.
2 Cows is reasonable. There's literally dozens and dozens.
I use Dotster and GoDaddy. GoDaddy has so many ads. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to look through all the ads.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
Good, but
you can also go to justdrop.com, where we just went to check out what domains were available, and they do a list. They compare all the different
go look at the
registers and domain and hosting companies.
Can you put a timer and say, keep an eye on one?
Yeah, you can.
Watch?
You can put a watch in it, so you can actually say when it comes up, I want to buy it right away. Because people squat and they say. Yeah,
maybe the Royal Bank of Canada will just forget to renew for an hour, and I could snag it.
Do it. Anyway, for Justin, great idea to come up with a new domain name that's really catchy, register it, and promote that versus his long-winded domain name that might not be as easy for people to remember.
And we wish Mr. Spork and Mr. Cruz all the happiness.
Great cartoons. I hope they rescue Oprah.
If you want Amber to review your site, email her
at amber@callforhelptv.com.
And say hi to our crew as we quickly take a break. We'll be back in just a minute. Hello, crew.
Control room's up. Standby commercial. Let's see the weenies.
Welcome back to Call for Help. Time for our Google tip of the day. Here's how you can easily track FedEx packages in Google. All you have to do is go to google.com, type in the number of your FedEx package, and then click Google Search, and it will know that you're looking for a FedEx package if it's the same length, and then you get directed directly to FedEx.com to search that package. And that's it. And now we have another caller. We have Terry on the webcam from Lindsay, Ontario.
Hey, Terry, how are you?
Very well, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nice to be back.
There he is.
I have a question about. Oh, first of all, let me say that I run Zoom Text 8.1.
Yes.
And I have that brings up many, many problems, and I miss a lot of things that somebody else might see on the screen because of the way it works.
Yeah.
In any event, I was running my SpyBot, and it came up with a DSO exploit.
Right.
And I did some checking, and it's data, source, object.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what that was. Thought maybe tracking cookie. But I said to SpyBot, fix the problem. And it said, okay, 5 problems fixed, because I guess there was 5 of them.
Yeah, SpyBot has a problem with DSO exploit.
Well, I got finally, and then I ran another scan. After it said it fixed the problem, I ran a scan right after.
Yeah, it didn't remove it.
Not at all. But then I'd say, fix the problem, and say, problem's fixed.
Yeah.
Did that about 4 or 5 times.
It's a known problem for some reason in SpyBot.
Well, I got rid of it myself by removing, and I think this is where it was. It was in the Apple QuickTime player. See, I've removed so many different programs that I'm never sure what fixes a problem.
I'd be careful about that. It is not an Apple QuickTime. DSO exploit is a Internet Explorer hack.
Ooh.
However, the good news is if you've recently, if you've updated Internet Explorer in the last 2 years, you're not vulnerable to it. It was a hack of an Internet Explorer that's pretty old. No. Do you regularly apply your system updates, right?
All the time.
Oh, you're fine.
All the time. And my system is only a year old, although I've only started using it in the last, 9 months ago. I had about 4 months before I could use it.
Terry, you probably had no issues with it ever. However, it's not unusual to find this, and I think it's a bug in SpyBot. In fact, SpyBot even says, we have a hard time with that. You might want to look at a more recent version of SpyBot if you haven't updated that lately. But
well, I have, and now I don't have the problem. And like I say,
I think SpyBot got it, not removing QuickTime, because it's part of Internet. It's something that goes in the Internet Explorer plugins.
Well, I very rarely use Internet Explorer. I use Firefox.
Yeah. See, there you go. So you were never vulnerable to it because you've been doing all the right things. You hadn't been using Explorer. You'd patched Windows anyway. You probably had Internet Explorer 6, a recent version of Internet. So it's not a danger. There is a register. Let me just kind of summarize. SpyBot tends to fail in removing this for reasons I think that Spybot even knows. They've even talked about this being a bug in Spybot. And I thought they'd fix this in more recent versions of Spybot. Maybe not. However, it's not a problem if you've updated Windows. If you do want to remove it, you can, but it's a little registry hack. I'll put a link in the show notes to pchell.com, which is actually a great site for instructions on this kind of thing. They have a removal process. It's very simple. There's just one registry key that you get rid of.
Well, it's gone. Like I say, it's gone now. But yeah, I just it's. So, if I don't have a problem, my computer isn't on. So
I know.
I'm not sure what the problem is because I'm self-taught, and the only way I can do things is trial and error. And
yeah, you're doing fine. I wouldn't worry, Terry. I mean, you're doing great.
Well, I never know, and this is the whole thing. Is it bad or not?
Right.
And I don't know. So,
well, that's what I'm here for.
Why I called you guys.
That's what I'm here for. And you were doing the right thing anyway because you've been doing your updates. You haven't been running Internet Explorer. I'm sure you have anti-spy. Or you do. Yep. You have Spybot. I mean, you're doing all the right things. So the good news is DSO exploit could never have affected you because you have been cautious about your health on the computer. So, just to reassure you, it's fine. It's gone now. Never was a problem in the first place. And I think really it was more of a bug. I used to see this all the time in Spybot. I think it was just a bug in Spybot for a long time.
Yeah,
okay?
It's just the fact that, not knowing and, you have to be cautious, err on the side of caution, which I do, and I run my anti-spywares every day and my Norton every day.
Absolutely.
So.
That's why, Terry, my prescription is to watch Call for Help every single day.
I do.
Well, then you're fine. Hey, it's great to talk to you again.
Thank you very much, Leo.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Take
Hi
care.
to everybody there.
Hey.
And the control room makes me smile. I like the job they do.
Well, aren't they great?
They are.
We got Steve and Ken and Katya and Matt and all the gang back there. Lorraine is the kitten on the keyboard there. And Jenny, of course, and I could go on and on.
Yeah.
Greg in the sound booth. And Greg likes it when I say his name. And so anyway, we're glad that we have such a good crew, and we're glad you watch, Terry. We work hard to make this show for you.
I love the program.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
I will. You too.
Hey, have you ever wanted to take a special photo and blow it up big, maybe for a big party or 50th anniversary or birthday? Well, here's a free file that can help all you egomaniacs or your party givers to make giant photos. It's called
Rasterbator.
And Mikey found it. What a surprise.
Yeah.
This is for rasterizing is to make dots out of an image.
Exactly.
And so that's why they call it the Rasterbator.
Exactly. And it's available as a Windows download or online usage. So if you have a Mac or Linux, you can just upload your image to it and use it on the web. But you have to wait in a queue and it's a little bit slower. So download
Let's
it
see
if you
how
can.
it works.
So what you do is essentially you start off, you select where you're going with it. English is, of course, the language of my choice.
All right.
And then you're going to browse for a picture that you want to rastify.
Rastafarian.
So I'm just going to go hit my USB key over here.
He's got a lot of stuff on there probably.
And the USB key isn't showing up, so it's going to help a lot here. But anyhow, I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to browse. I'm going to take one of these.
Yeah, any picture will do.
Picture there, and then
not any picture.
Not any picture.
On your hard drive. Be careful.
Yeah, there's certain
Discretion.
pictures. Well, if it's going on your bedroom wall, maybe or something like that, maybe you could
go.
I don't know.
Go there.
So you're going to select the size of your paper that you're printing on.
How big can it
be? It can be enormous. You can have, I think it's 40 pages across by 40 pages down on a traditional printer.
Wow.
So that's a humongous portrait.
Okay.
And so you're going to select that. And then you're going to say how.
Oh, here's the output. Okay.
Yeah. How many sheets wide do you want? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Wow. Look how big that is.
So you can make it enormous. Well, sorry, I made a mistake. You could do
basically unlimited.
Exactly.
That would consume 20,000 sheets if you were to do that.
Yeah.
Get a few reams of paper ready.
And a little bit of print paper, yeah. So then you can select your dot size, and you can select a custom color if you want it to make a certain color. If you have a color printer, of course, it'll go through ink like crazy. And then you rasterbate it.
Now, this is like those old days when we had those tractor feed. You could just print long banners, but now we don't have those, so you have to print them on individual pages. And then what, you tape them together?
And then you tape them together.
Now, this is going to take 25 minutes, but you've been working on this. Let's pull this up here. This is one you've been taping all through the show.
This is a picture of you and your first Australian webcam caller.
Oh, that's great.
And you can see it looks a little bit weird here because we're holding
close, but from a distance, actually tilt it forward a little bit because it's glaring a little bit. But from a distance, it looks really good. Is it still glaring a lot? Look at that.
It looks a little bit better.
I've been Rasterbated.
Exactly. And the idea is you can put this on your wall or whatever kind of a thing, or, decorate, maybe even for like a dorm room or something like that, where, you want to do a great picture, but you don't want to pay $300 to have it framed
Free
up.
file of the day. If you want to know more, go to callforhelptv.com. Coming up next, when you think of the greatest web browser in the entire world, Internet Explorer, Opera, Firefox, how about Conqueror? But first, the quiz question of the day. Google servers. What kind of operating system do they run on? Is it Linux, Microsoft's IIS, Java? How about Windows CE? I mean, it doesn't take much, does it? Get to the website, give us the answer, we'll talk about it. When Call for Help continues. Stay right here. Welcome back to Call for Help. Before the break, we asked you, what operating system does Google run on? Linux, of course.
Yes.
What else? Certainly not Microsoft's Internet Information Server. Well, for one thing,
I thought it was CPM, actually. Personally.
CPM? And this is the Linux guy. A name like Conqueror with a K.
That was my guess.
Like a pretty amazing piece of software. It's conquering the web world. It's a web browser file manager, file viewer. It's customizable. It's open source, and it comes with every version of Linux out there. In fact, it comes with every copy of Mac out there in the form of Safari. Here to demonstrate its crazy capabilities, our Linux master, Marcel Gagné.
Well, hello. Good to see you again.
Cooking with Linux. The chef. It's good to see you again. And the new book is out.
That's right.
I want to give you a plug for this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I actually plug this on the radio show all the time. It's such a great book. The new edition is Moving to Linux, 2nd edition. Kiss the blue screen of death goodbye. And actually, Linux saved us again, because inside of this, there used to be a Linux CD. Not anymore. We popped it out.
An Opix CD.
Yeah, we could put it on Marcel's laptop, and it boots up to the CD, and there you are.
That's right. Linux. That's right. Boots up to the CD, got me on the internet, the whole thing. Everything was great.
Isn't that amazing? And it comes with Conqueror. That's right. This is the browser. There are actually a number of browsers.
There are a number of browsers, just like there are in the Windows world. Yeah. I mean, Firefox obviously is a big popular one there as well. And in fact, I have to admit, I always tell people I'm a two-browser guy. I tend to like to run either Firefox or Conqueror, so I tend to run both. I'm now 90% of the time, I have to admit, I'm actually running Conqueror.
What is the advantage of Conqueror?
Well, Conqueror, I mean, if you take a look at the display here, Conqueror, as with Firefox and so forth, has got, all those cool things. It's got tabbed browsing and so forth, which,
It feels very speedy to me. It feels like a fast browser.
Well, it's integrated, actually, into the KDE desktop. So it's actually part of the KDE desktop. Right. So it's
built in as the file browser, too.
Exactly, right? Yeah. It's built in as the file browser. And I'll show you some of the things that it can do in a moment there. But I wanted to give you some idea of what it does as a web browser right off the bat. I mean, as you can see here, I've got my web page loaded up. We had a discussion about web page, marcelgagne.com, Leoville,
right?
Leoville.com. Those are great. Those are great.
I think they work.
I think it's a great domain name. Anyway, what I wanted to show you is that, first of all, there are some cool things that are built into it as far as a web browser is concerned. Like if I'm viewing a web page and it's in some strange language, I can actually just go up there and tell it that I want it to translate. And let me see here.
That's built in.
Yeah, it's quasi built in. What it is it's a hook that goes out and queries AltaVista's Babelfish engine.
Cool.
So it'll actually go out there and it goes to Babelfish, and Babelfish is going to do the translation
and
show me the
version of your page.
And well, actually, this is German, I think. I'm not sure what I picked. I just grabbed the language at random here. Anyway, of course, we have to wait for Babelfish to do its thing, and it's fishing and doing its thing there. And anyway, the other thing too that it's got that's really cool. There we go. We're in German now. I should try to read that.
What's neat is it actually renders the whole page exactly the same.
Yes.
So the images are there and everything.
Yes.
Which is a little different than if you try to use Babelfish by hand.
And what's nice about this, of course, is that if you do go visit a website that you can't read or can't understand, you can do the translation on your desktop, on your display. It's kind of fun. Now, as a web browser, it also does some other really neat things. It's got some built-in shortcuts that I personally really, really love. And these are all built into it as well. Like if I go GG: call for help, it goes out there and it queries Google.
So GG: says search Google for the next term.
That's right. In fact, there are a whole bunch of these things. GGI.
Google Images, I'm going to guess.
Bingo. Hey, how'd you guess?
I'm just smart.
Leo Laporte. Let's see. There's you go.
There's a lot of pictures of me in the Google image search.
There's a whole pile of them sitting there.
Oh, that's really cool.
So we can do that, and you can do GGN as well for Google News. And so it's just like a really quick, rapid stuff. Now, one of the ones that I tend to use all the time is this one here. IMDb. What was that guy?
I love IMDb.
What was that guy's name we were talking about earlier? Tom Cruise, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that guy?
This is the Internet Movie Data. Uh-oh.
The Internet. Oh, it's asking whether I want to accept the cookie.
Oh, so it has also the same kind of security
Yeah,
features?
it's got the same kind of security. It's got pop-up blocking. It's got, do you actually want to accept these cookies? Do you want to forget about these things and so forth? So all these little quick things are there. There's also an AD for the acronym database. Let's do AD.
That's really handy when you come up with that. I mean, acronyms are so confusing.
Give me an acronym. Give me an acronym.
PCMCIA.
PCMCIA. I guess it would help if I could type, huh?
Traditionally, that stands for People Can't Remember Computer Industry Acronyms.
Ooh, that's good.
But in fact, there's a longer...
I'm not sure if that's actually what it's going to come up with. Personal Computer Memory Card International Association.
I prefer mine.
I like yours, actually, as well. TLA, three-letter acronym. I like that one, too. You can also query an online dictionary by going DICT:/THS for thesaurus, : and there are all sorts of things like that. We talked about Alta Vista, AV:, and all these things are actually, if you want to find out what they all are, you can actually go into configure shortcuts.
Yeah.
You can add your own. You can go into configure shortcuts and it'll list a whole pile of them that are there.
One of the things
really
Linux
quick access
is really famous for is just ultimate configurability. You're allowed to set everything anyway, anyhow. And that's one of the beauties of it.
And in fact, that's one of the attractions, and it's one of the reasons, of course, that people who run Linux never want to go back to anything else.
Right, because they're used to having control.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to give that up. So it's a great web browser, and you can do all sorts of neat things.
Any reason you would prefer to use Firefox?
Because there is the odd thing that I discover from time to time that Conqueror does not behave well on.
There are some
that
pages, doesn't work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Firefox is more forgiving on some of the pages than Conqueror is.
Right.
Conqueror just comes up and says, this page has got bad HTML, it'll do this, blah, 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 and it pops up a little message and says, this will make your web browser very unstable. I recommend that you don't actually go there.
Now, it's my understanding that the KHTML engine that's used by Conqueror is the same engine that Apple used to build Safari and its
That's
WebKit.
correct, yes.
So you may be using Conqueror and you don't even know it.
That's right. And in fact, there's stuff moving back and forth between the two.
Which is great.
Camps.
Yeah, Apple's been good about putting back into the open source community.
Yes, they have. Yeah. Now, I wanted to show you some of the things, obviously web browser. Hey,
we're actually out of time, so I'm going to have to refer people to your show notes at callforhelptv.com. And of course, the best thing to do would be to run out and buy a copy, maybe two, one for your friends, of this book, Moving to Linux, Kiss the Blue Screen of Death. Goodbye! Check it out at marcelgagne.com. And to find out more about Conqueror, go to those show notes. We'll be back in a jiff with a conclusion that's spiff.
Media settings, remote.
Thank you.
Okay.
Look, I just noticed this on Marcel Gagne's book. There's a picture of Marcel on our set laughing his head off. That's great. I'm glad you... Yeah, it was a fun show. I remember that show. That was a silly show. Oh, that's fun. That's his new book, and I'm going to keep a copy of this. If you want to be on this show, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we'd love to have you. All you have to do is go to our website, callforhelptv.com. Click the link on the left that says Ask a Question. If you've got a problem with your personal confuser...
Don't whine.
Don't moan.
Don't yell.
Just
call for help.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.